Arguably the most intriguing and also perhaps the most powerful right out of the gate of these pirate heroes is none other than the Ranger pirate hero, the Pirate Ranger, I should say it that way. Pirate Ranger hero Marlin, Treasure Hunter, who is a 4 intellect, 40 health Ranger hero, and kind of falling into this class that has a bunch of powerful tools and particularly has this pedigree in the past of being powerful if you go super duper wide. I mean, you look back at Lexi, who had Voltaire and the ability to basically just say 2 go-agains, 2 instances on any given turn. I can fire a bunch of arrows. Well, Marlin has shades of that power level. She's in a really interesting spot right out of the gate here because we don't know a lot about her card pool that she could be tapping into in this set, except we know that there's a slant towards big ol' Ranger arrow attacks. I think this is really cool. It's neat to see a Ranger that is so focused on firing big harpoons, and you can see a couple of her cards like lean heavily into that. So she has the capacity, based on what we've seen so far, to shoot these big shots, right? She shoots her shot well, and King Shark Harpoon is proof of that. A 2 cost 6 power, 3 block, go fish arrow attack. That's the keyword, go fish. It says when this hits a hero, they choose and reveal a card from their hand. You basically fish a card out of their hand. They get to pick, though. If it's an attack action card, they discard it and you create a gold. But if you've activated a cannon this turn, instead you get to choose the card. So you don't have to have them go fish. If you fire a cannon, you get to go fishing for them, which is even better because, spoiler alert, cannons now exist. I honestly thought they were going to be real cannons, and I was really hyped for that, but it turns out they're going to be crossbows, because this Hammerhead Harpoon cannon is one of the things that has been spoiled. Like I said, we don't know a lot about her equipment, and her weapon and her kit overall, just like we don't know a lot about all of these heroes' kits, but hers is the one we know the most about, and Harpoon Cannon is one of the 2 weapons that we've seen so far for her. This one has the action pay 4, and then you tap it. Your next arrow attack this turn gets +4. I want to point out, and I haven't seen anyone say this yet, this doesn't say once per turn action pay 4. It just says action. So if there is something in this set that untaps something in this set, you could conceivably pay 8 across 2 weapons, or 2 weapon activations, to load this twice and give 2 arrows +4. Now, is that really, like, possible? Probably not. But how interesting is that? They didn't, do the whole once per turn action. They just said action, pay 4, and tap. And it does give a +4, which is a huge buff, the biggest buff ever printed on a bow, because this is a cannon. And if it has a harpoon in its name, if that arrow has harpoon in its name, it gets overpower as well. So you get a lot of bang for your buck if you go that way. But remember how I said that there was this undercurrent, or this pedigree, like I talked about earlier, of like go wide, aggro, ranger, go again, arrows, that sort of thing. Well, they've harkened back to it a little bit in the limited format at the very least, with Red Spine Manta, a beautiful homage to Redliner, the Crucible of War bow that came out, and some people played really heavily in Azalea until everyone realized how busted Death Dealer actually is when you have good attacks to play with it. And it says action, tap, so you don't pay anything, put an arrow from your hand face up into your arsenal. That's it. That's all. All you do is put an arrow into your hand. Now keep in mind, this is not a cannon. And so, interestingly enough, Marlin is going to provide perhaps the most flexibility, as I bump the microphone, for any Ranger hero that we've seen to this point. I mean, you look at Azalea, and Azalea could have been built in like sort of this big go tall, 1 big arrow attack, some go wide sprinkled in there as well. And so she has the capacity to be more flexible. Lexi was pretty much always just go wide, but she had some other interesting things she could do. She could go wide in a variety of different ways with, activating her effect and, giving something go again, or she could create frostbites. And Riptide is like always playing on this slightly different axis where he has inevitability and he has pure damage with his traps, right? Marlin looks like, as of right now, she could go in a million different directions. You could play things like King Shark Harpoon, or even King Kraken Harpoon, which is a nice little foil to the King Shark Harpoon. This one has a similar on-hit effect with the Go Fish, except if this one's a non-attack action card that they reveal, they discard it, or you can pick that. So it's like a similar thing. She even has access to Big Game Trophy Shot, the third Majestic they've shown for her. Yeah, they really loaded up with her. And it says pay 2, your next arrow attack this turn gets +4, kind of like the big cannon bow that we saw. If it has Harpoon in its name, when it gets when this hits a hero, create a gold token. And then you get to do the cool effect, draw a card and then discard a card. Why is that cool? Well, it's because of her effect. And this is where we're leaning in on the go wide strategy, because her effect says, action, tap the hero, destroy a gold you control, and you create a Goldfin Harpoon in your hand. Now, a Goldfin Harpoon is nothing special. It's a 0-cost arrow that you can load up and do some stuff. It kind of disappears if it would go into the graveyard. It doesn't actually go there. But here's the secondary effect, and this is the crazy one. This is what makes me most excited to mess with her. Whenever you draw a card during your action phase, you may put an arrow from your hand face up into your arsenals. Now, oh my god, just hold on. Okay, now I just threw this together. There's a ton of different ways you can go about like getting max value out of her secondary effect, which says whenever you draw a card, you can put an arrow from your hand face up into your arsenal. If you play, and this is what everyone first said, if you play 3 of a kind, of course, you draw 3 cards. That procs once the activation here whenever you draw a card during the action phase. You would draw your 3 cards. You would finish the effect, which would have the go again, and then you would trigger Marlin, allowing you to load an arrow from your hand that you might have just drawn into your arsenal face up. So that is one way to proc it, but there's a ton of ways that you can actually do it. First of all, you can play defense cards like this pirate block, which is called Sunken Treasure. You can play this card, and then you can turn a card face down, and if it's yellow, you create a gold token. And then once you have that gold token, you of course could get a Goldfin Harpoon, but if you just pay 2 resources to crack the gold and draw a card, all of a sudden you can load an arrow right away. And if you load a go again effect, then you can fire it and then pay for whatever bow you want. Plus, this allows for New Horizon to come back like in a real way into this meta. Obviously, New Horizon is a headpiece that has been continuously seeing play in the periphery of Ranger. Like some people, I should say, a good number of people play it in Riptide if they're playing the more aggressively slanted list, but it opens up that second arsenal zone that allows you to kind of do some crazy stuff. And with a hero that is somewhere in between Azalea and somewhere in between Riptide that can load arrows based on drawing cards, gold generation, and things like 3 of a kind that draw cards, or things like draw a card and discard a card, all of these effects now activate and allow you to do like multiple arrows in a turn. So we could really go either way with Marlin, and that is the super cool thing about this new pirate hero. You could really slot her in as a go wide build, and it looks so far that she has the capacity to play that way. Now, will this end up being her final like play style, her final form, if you will? Is it just going to be more of this sort of go wide soup, similar to what we saw with Lexi? I don't think so. I think that they're giving us these types of cards for a reason. We may have like some amount of go wide cards, like Bolt and Shot. When this card came out, all the way back in whatever the heck set it came out. What did the set? What set did the Everfast? Was this Everfast? I don't know. When this card came out, I said that this is always going to be like some amount of include in the Ranger class, like into decks. Like you always have the capacity to like sort of play this out if you're playing buffs. It's like one of those big cards that you almost always just throw in, like a glue card. I could see these types of cards being in the deck, but I think when all is said and done, if you wanted me to put money down on it, I think she's going to be a big go tall type hero. This, in my opinion, is where she is going to kind of end up. I think they're wanting to push a like big arrow go tall type Ranger, and if you're going to do it, you might as well do it with someone that fires literal harpoons from cannons and giant crossbows, and in this case it looks like a ballista. So if you're gonna do it, it's gonna be right here. I really want to see if this ends up being her signature weapon, because if like there's a real good signature weapon that isn't just Hammerhead here, I would be really impressed. It would be really cool to see something just giant. It does kind of look like that is Hammerhead, We'll see. I don't know. This doesn't have the this doesn't have the little coil on the front like this one does. So I'm very curious to see how that ends up shaking out. I could really see her being the most powerful out of the gate. I mean, think about it. It's Ranger. She has access to Codex of Frailty. She has access to a ton of powerful arrows with pretty solid on hits, and she can like do very powerful things in different weird ways that people might not be expecting. So I'm very curious to see how she ends up actually playing, and if you're curious to see that as well, leave a comment down below. If I missed something about Marlin, I know there's a lot to talk about with a new Ranger hero because Ranger is one of the most storied classes. But if I missed something, let me know in a comment below, of course. And if you're more interested in taking to the skies instead of taking to the seas, go to yesterday's video where I broke down the new mechanologist hero Puffin and talked about how she basically just transforms that class by opening up the design space. Make the number, go to the other number, and as always, everybody, thanks for watching.